I'm not talking about having a bad day. This is constant with Donald Trump. He cannot stay awake during the day to do his job. The propagandizing that comes from the White House is reaching cartoon levels. We all watched last week where Donald Trump was passed the fuck out in the Oval Office. Just snoring and sleeping like a baby. A dude passed out in the Oval Office. Not, again, someone else passed out, like a real medical thing. And Donald Trump, that's what woke him up and got him all peppy. The Washington Post did we're going to get to the propagandizing. That wasn't just an aside. The Washington Post did an analysis of different angles of the cameras in that meeting. And Donald Trump was passed out for about 20 full minutes during the goings-on. After the Republican Party and Donald Trump called Joe Biden Sleepy Joe for months and months and months and months, they still do it. They're ignoring the fact that Donald Trump is not up to the task of the presidency. This isn't just about poking fun at Donald Trump for being an old turd who can't keep his eyes open. It's not just about that. That's just a cherry on the top. That's just mockery, makes me feel good because I'm just that petty. But it's more than that. This is the presidency of the United States. This is why Joe Biden stepped aside, because there was too much pressure about his ability to do the job at his late stage in life. But Republicans, because they're hypocrites, they were on fire on that for Joe Biden, and they're also asleep, just like Donald Trump, relative to his health and welfare and well-being and fitness to do the job. Let me get to the propagandizing. That ends it here. But let me read what the White House statement was about the meeting that we've all witnessed, about Donald Trump being passed out. All the photos you've seen of him crashed out, slumped over in his chair, like somebody needs to check his vital signs. This was from the White House. Here's the article, by the way, so you want to look for it. A closer look at Trump's apparent struggles to fight off sleep in the Oval Office. A Washington Post analysis of multiple video feeds found that the president spent nearly 20 minutes apparently battling to keep his eyes open at a recent event. Now, we've all witnessed it. You saw it. I saw it. The world saw it. And this is the White House response. Speaking of propagandizing, the White House denied that Trump was dozing during the Oval Office event and suggested the question was inappropriate. How dare you ask about the emperor's clothing? He's not naked. Those are beautiful garments, they say. Quote, the president was not sleeping, says the official statement from the White House spokesperson. In fact, he spoke throughout and took many questions from the press during this announcement, which represents a historic reduction in prices for Americans on 2 drugs that help Americans struggling with diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and other conditions, spokeswoman Taylor Rogers said in a statement. The president was not sleeping. Deny your eyes. Deny your senses. Do not believe what you see or what you hear. The dear leader's spokespeople have spoken. The sleeping president was not asleep. That was something entirely different. He spoke throughout the entire meeting, even while he was snoozing, apparently. This is what the Washington Post in their analysis found. A Washington Post analysis of multiple video feeds found that Trump spent nearly 20 minutes apparently battling to keep his eyes open at the Thursday event. It was a seemingly stark illustration of the strain of the presidency on a 79-year-old who typically keeps a vigorous travel schedule that even his aides say they struggle to keep up with, and who has reveled in calling his predecessor Sleepy Joe Biden. Now, again, while I enjoy mocking the dipshit president, it is not solely about that. The more important element of the story comes in this particular sentence. It was a seemingly stark illustration of the strain of the presidency on the nearly 80-year-old president. We are owed competent leadership. I believe we are owed exceptional leadership. That's why I hold politicians on both sides of the aisle to a higher standard than I would you or my neighbors. If you want to play at this high level, if you want to represent the interests of Americans, the important interests of Americans, you need to be on top of your game. You need to be the best of us. I don't want Matt Gaetz's and Marjorie Taylor Greene's and Lauren Boebert's and Donald Trump's and Mike Johnson's. I want people who are better than that. I want Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's. And if we're going to have old people who are beyond the age of retirement, like Bernie Sanders, let's have a guy like that. I want fewer John Fettermans and more leaders. Sitting behind the Resolute desk on Thursday, the president displayed a constellation of movements familiar to anyone who has attempted to stay awake during a work meeting. He closed his eyes, he put his hand to his temple, he slouched in his chair. Donald Trump at one point was literally trying to pry his eyes open to keep them open. He was so sleepy. Look, if you have a late night, and you have a tired day. I just got back from Japan. It took me a week to normalize my sleep coming back, being 13 hours different. I'm not talking about having a bad day. This is constant with Donald Trump. He cannot stay awake during the day to do his job. When you are sleep deprived, you do a poor job. Being sleep deprived while driving is akin to being under the influence of alcohol. It's that dangerous. And I would say the job of president of the United States of America is important enough. It would be on par with driving a motor vehicle. Wouldn't you? But again, the White House, the president was not sleeping. Semicolon, in fact, blah, blah, blah. Here are some lies. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this very important conversation. Please like and share this video. Comment below with your comments. And if you want to sound off telephonically, you can call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work right here. For as little as $2 a month, you can help me produce these videos, putting them out on YouTube and on Facebook. You can be a part of that for $2 a month. You can click the join button below this video on YouTube to become a channel member, or even better, the better method is to go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast and help support what we do within the four walls of this studio, whether that be the podcast, this channel, Brittany Page's channel. Your money goes toward funding an independent media outlet that I believe does exceptional work, and you can be a part. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. I would appreciate your consideration in that. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.